Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Science and Sorcery. We are here for a very impromptu game of Mappa Mundi. It is the day after UK Games Expo, so at the very least, Khalil and I are very tired. But we wanted to run through an adventure of this wonderful game that I've been running over the weekend at UK Games Expo. It is called The Hearts of Cloud and Chorus. And I really was so excited to run this story and see what these players make of it, and to see what the players that played with me at UK Games Expo make of it, because I know at least two of them are in the chat. Hello, and hello, George is here as well. If you've not been here before, my name is Sam. My pronouns are he, him. I will be the narrator for this game. Um, Before we go any further, I'm going to get all of my players to introduce themselves and also to tell me their character name and also the type of character that you're going to be playing. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about what this game is, if you've never come across it before, and also explain some of the rules for like at least one of the players who's never played this game before. Two of the players have never played this game before. We'll first come to the player who has played before, Khalil.
Hello, I'm Khalil Thurlaway. I use he, him pronouns. I have played Mappa Mundi before, but only as the narrator, so it's going to be interesting being on this side of the screen. I'm going to be playing Knut, who is a guardian. I'm going to be a slightly grumpy middle-aged man with a machete.
Knut. Like, don't rearrange those letters. Dagmar, we'll come to you next.
Hello, I'm Dagmar Dervedven, and my pronouns are she, her. I've never played this game before. I'm very excited, and I'm going to be playing an archivist named Amandine Crockett. And we're going to find out what kind of person she is, because I don't know yet.
And finally, Alex.
Hello, my name is Alex. My pronouns are they, he, and I am playing Carnelian Johnson, the Fixer.
Lovely, and I'm playing everybody else. In this game, Mappa Mundi, it is, as you can see on the screen, an exploration and ecology RPG. It is a non-violent game. It takes place in the world of Ecumen, where there has been what is known as a big event called the Flux, a cataclysmic event that changed the world forever. And look, they've just very recently released the lovely, lovely book. It is so wonderful, and I'm so happy to have my hands on it. In this book, it doesn't tell you what the flux actually was. It is up for the players to decide between themselves what they think might have happened in the past. And as the chroniclers who are from the Mappamundi Institute, you are tasked with going out into the wilds to find out more about the creatures and monsters that are out there in the different regions of this land. Before we get started, just to be very clear that yes, I mentioned that it is a game that is non-violent, but it is also a game that is going to be, at least in the way that we're going to tell it and the way that the game sets it out, very respectful for the people who live in these regions. That just because we are researchers coming to learn more about them doesn't mean that necessarily the people who already live there don't have that information already. We're not discovering things, we are just collecting knowledge. And whether that is brand new things or picking things up from people that live in these regions, that is what this game really is about. Now, this game this evening is called Hearts of Cloud and Chorus. It is going to take place in one of the regions called Lignitsu, and I'm going to have my players go on a journey to find out about a monster. Perhaps more, perhaps things that aren't even in this book, because we're going to make them up tonight. This is a game that involves two different types of dice. It involves D4s and D6s, and these represent what are called bones, in which like people who live in this world will receive at different ages. And our players will have four different stats that they can use this evening. They're going to be using traversal, exploration, observation, and deduction. And I'll ask them to roll a check whenever I need them to do something that they might need to try and overcome, something that might be tricky, something that might be fairly simple. And I will tell them the DC before they roll. I'm explaining this in detail for my players as well, because we've not had a chance to talk through the rules. So we'll do that throughout the game as we're running. There's a lovely, unique mechanic built into this game called shaping. Now, if you've ever GM'd the game, then you'll probably know about shaping as a thing that you do, which is just you tell people what is in this space, what it looks like, what it smells like, what you hear, what the layout of the space that you're in is, and all sorts of other details. Now, the GMs will do that, and lots of players will do that, but in this game, it is very much baked in. So I will be asking my players to shape the scene at times, to tell us what do they see, what do we smell, what creatures are there. And it's very much a yes and. So we're trying to build on something that came before, and also try not to negate anything that someone else has said. So if we come forward with an idea, someone else might go, I'd like it, I think it's great, but how about we change it ever so slightly? That's fine. And that's the way that this game comes together. We're going to be looking for a creature or a monster somewhere out in the wilds, and our players also have what are called interactions on their character sheet. Now, these might be things like play or provoke or diagnose or sketch, and these are things they can use when they want to try and tease out some information about a creature that they find. And I'll ask them to roll an ability that goes alongside that. And that'll tell me whether they succeed or whether they pass, and whether they find out anything. And even if they use a specific interaction, might not tell them anything. We're looking for 7 behaviors from our main creature this evening, but we're probably, in the time that we have, not going to get all of them. But we're going to find out as much information as we can about this creature. Players, any questions about what I've said there? It's a game that it all makes sense as soon as we start playing as well.
I'm happy to go with that system.
Cool. As a previous narrator, Khalil, is there anything you think that I've missed that you would add in?
Well, there's the overall structure of the story of a Mappa Mundi adventure, which is broken into research, exploration, and encounter. Not necessarily in that order. We'll see what Sam has in store for us.
And not necessarily distinct from each other either. They can flow together, depending on how the narrator wants to run it or how the players decide to play the game. They might get information at different points. Okay, in that case, I think we'll get going. We find ourselves in an alpine village, a snowy place around halfway up a mountain. It is cold here. People live in wooden cabins, and they've worked this land for quite some time. You have people who are woodworkers, you have people that run cattle, the occasional sheep farmer. Even though they don't make all that much money, it's still important for them to do it and manage the land. And also here you have a regional hub for the Mappa Mundi Institute. And that's where we find our 3 characters this evening. It is kind of late morning, just before lunchtime, and you have been brought here by Professor Vasu, who is an elderly member of Mappa Mundi, who is quite worried and concerned about a piece of information he got from one of the local woodworkers, middle-aged man who relayed information that his daughter had had a slightly different dream that perhaps warrants some investigation. He had said that his daughter likes to tell stories, and normally he wouldn't think too much of it, but in this situation, he thought that the details that were given across were perhaps a little bit concerning and a little bit too detailed. And so the professor would like you all to investigate what exactly she had to say. Now, he will pass over to you that apparently in this dream, there was a creature came to the girl to tell her of its worries. It's concerned that... Now, before I continue, actually, I'm going to ask all my players the question. This is players, not characters. If I say the word monster, what do you think?
Any creature that isn't an ordinary animal.
Okay. Amazing.
I would add also there's something quite fearful about it, whether it's just intimidating or that could be dangerous.
Okay. Khalil?
Monsters, to me, somehow kind of they cross the boundary between like beast and like almost personhood a lot of the time.
Okay. Now, the reason I ask is this creature has told this girl that it no longer wants to be treated like a monster. And the classical definition that we would have for monster is kind of threefold. In the game book, at the very beginning, will outline what it says, which is either one, a large, ugly, and frightening imaginary creature, or two, a thing of extraordinary or daunting size. But the game itself will pin the etymology of the word monster as its definition, which is something that is to remind, to warn, to instruct, or to teach. But this thing doesn't want to be seen as a monster in the way that most people will look at creatures. Now, I am quite worried about this. I would recommend speaking to the girl, asking around town, checking if there's anything you might want to know. I know of previous tales of peaks of Hava Mountains, of similar creatures that talk to people in ways that might seem unnatural. So perhaps that might be the best bet in terms of journeying, but I wouldn't head out without getting further information.
And we must be careful. We must be wary lest these communications, this voice, be misleading. There are stories of monsters luring people, children, adults into the wilderness to their doom. But it could be nothing. It could be something harmless. Let us see.
I think it's important that we don't judge too quickly. You're right, we need to be careful, but I think a lot of monsters are just a bit misunderstood sometimes.
Misunderstandings can lead to all sorts of outcomes.
Well, so we should do our best to understand them before we draw any conclusions.
Yes, yes. But let's
Well,
not go
perhaps-
charging in. I am the guardian, after all.
Perhaps we should just first establish the veracity of this, and then we can progress with a little more insight from there.
Very
Yeah.
sensible suggestion.
With that, the professor will say, well, bottom of the hill, swing in the garden. I'm sure you'll find the right place.
What was her name?
Vela.
Vela.
Onwards.
Would you
Russell?
like to lead?
Heading out of the institute, you step out into the cold air of the late morning. I'm going to ask you all, for the first time, what does it look like here?
We are, it's a snowy mountain, but we are still within the tree line. So there are kind of, pine and other kind of hardy conifer woodlands around the village. So it's, sheltered a little bit from the extremes of the weather and snow.
I would add to that people regularly will clear paths. You'll see that there are people shoveling snow to maintain the access across the streets. Dagmar.
I'd say as well, it's despite the tree cover, it is a bit windy given we're quite high up. And So whereas you'd expect your breath to make clouds, it's almost instantly blown away. Being
Maybe
just
the
very, like,
wind.
small wisps.
Maybe the wind blows like because you have these. There's got to be like roads and paths through the
Yeah.
trees, so it kind of they create wind tunnels.
Yeah. More sheltered amongst the trees, definitely.
I think what I would say is a lot of these paths probably follow the paths of small streams, and with the extreme cold, there's just a constant paper-thin layer of ice over this rushing water beneath.
And as you follow these streams down the hill across these paths, you find yourself outside fairly similar to the rest of these buildings here, wooden cabin. The roof of this building is, upon first inspection, you might think, is this a thatched building? But then as you look closer, the plant material that forms this roof is living plant, which they regularly will cut back. So whether it is kind of moss and lichens or vines that seem to somehow survive in this harsher environment. A little chimney that sits on top, and in the garden, of which there's a little fence surrounding, a homemade swing, and there's a little girl sat, and she's singing.
What a lovely song.
She doesn't quite take notice if you say that out loud.
Is it a song we recognise at all?
Let's go ahead and make your first roll then. Let's make that observation roll. And I'm going to make the DC here a simple 2. Just a simple one.
I fail with a 1.
To you, you're not sure. This is not something that seems to be anywhere within your vault of memories. Seems quite unique, a little different.
I'm gonna kneel down by the fence, on the outside of the fence, but my head and chest is still above the level of the little fence, and I'm gonna try and kind of get somewhat into her eye line. Say, excuse me, girl. Are your parents home? May we speak?
Oh, she will look up quite shyly at you. Like, my dad's inside. Are you here to see my dad? Dad! And we'll just shout. Around 30 seconds later, you'll hear the front door open, and out stepping will be this kind of middle-aged man with a beard, wearing kind of oily overalls, cleaning his hands with a cloth. Can I help you?
Oh, good day, sir. We are from the Institute.
Oh, you're the smart folk, right? Great.
We were.
I've already told them.
Yes, we were wondering if, with your blessing, we could speak with young Vela herself.
Sure. What do you need? Never. Yeah. Go ahead. Ask the questions you need.
Thank you. Now, Vela, if you wouldn't mind, we would love to hear more about your dream.
Oh, you want to know about the dragon?
A dragon?
Yeah, a dragon.
Wonderful.
What do you want to know?
Ooh, what did it look like? What did it say?
I don't know what it looked like.
How did you know it was a dragon then?
Well, it sounded like one. I think I know what a dragon sounds like.
What does a dragon sound like?
Well,
can you do the voice?
Well, it had 3 different voices. One that was high, one that was low, and one that was just right.
Is this anything that we might be familiar with, or like, are there any other monsters that we might have encountered with multiple voices?
Do you have a skill that you think might allow you to look at that? Maybe less so for the Guardian, but could an Archivist or...
I don't know if local knowledge would apply here, whether or not there are dragons in these parts or anything
You
else
are
in these parts.
welcome to convince me that you think you might know of stories or folk tales or similar. So
Yeah.
what I would say is if you are using local knowledge, I will get you to make a roll using it. And I need to remind myself which of the 4 roles it needs to be, because I haven't marked up on your character sheet. Because, as I say, it's the day after UK Games Expo, and I'm tired. Local knowledge within the Archivist. George, you're in the chat. You can tell me.
Help us out, George.
Observation. It's an observation roll. I'm
That's
gonna
a
make
D6.
this. I'm gonna make it a DC of 4.
DC 4. Let's see. That's a 4.
Perfect. Okay. Found it before George could react. I'm just that good, George. A DC of 4, and you were trying to see if there was any kind of local knowledge of dragons or... what you would know is that most summers, teenagers will head into the mountains in search of dragons as part of a gap summer. No one's ever seen one, but they keep trying. And when they come back, they're a little changed.
Okay.
Being pragmatic here, can I use my don't eat that skill and see if this is some kind of hallucinogenic like ritual of the local kids?
So how would you be going about that? What would this look like? Are you... Because it's like, don't eat that.
It was just like, am I aware of sort of any local like fungi or plants that have that kind of effect, that are kind of have a bit of like a public reputation as being a source of like wild visions and whatnot?
Well, yeah, I will allow you to make a deduction roll. It's going to be a DC of 5.
Okay, so deduction is also a D6. I got a 4, so unfortunately not.
No idea. Not a clue. You've never heard of any sort of poisons that might have been fed to children to make them have this sort of hallucination.
How old is the girl?
6
Like, is
or so.
she... Okay, so she's definitely not old enough to go off on a gap summer.
No. She hasn't told you her whole story.
No.
So, Bella, can you weave us the tale of your dream?
Well, have you ever had a dream where you're running really fast and then suddenly you're flying? And I
Yes.
found myself close to the top of what looked like a really big mountain. The sky was purple. And then I heard it. It said it was scared. It didn't want to be known as a monster. And it was worried people were going to hurt it again. And I didn't like that.
Did it give any indication of how it had been hurt in the past?
I don't know. No, it didn't tell me that. It just was worried it would happen again. It's not no one's going to hurt it, right?
No, of course not.
Well, certainly not us.
Good.
We're just here to see if we can understand the creature and see if we can do something to help it coexist with your community. Because Clearly, something's not right.
The dad at this point will be like, well, I mean, like there's a couple of the boys in town that have been up there in the past. Like maybe it's before my time. We never did that sort of thing when I was a kid.
Oh,
But
kids
like,
these days.
and it's the baker's boy, Adam. He's probably
Adam.
lost it.
Can I ask something else? The mountain. Was it a mountain you recognized from around here, or was it a one you've only seen in your dreams?
You can see that she starts to swing, and then as she's halfway up the swing, she'll just point. And there is just this one singular summit, taller than all the others, with one jagged peak.
Is this a summit we know anything of?
This is the tallest summit in the Hava mountain range. This would be the same place that these kids would have gone. It is a bit of a trek, both to get there and to get up, and you might well need to be prepared.
And one last.
No, go ahead, please.
Canute, but that's fine.
Canute.
I did have one last question, Bella. You said that you felt sad when this dragon spoke of its fear and its pain.
Yeah,
Were there
it was
any
nice.
other emotions that came through in the dream?
Well, one of them just said it's fine, don't worry about it, and like two of them were arguing, and one of them just kept saying, "Don't worry about it, it's fine. We've managed it this far." So maybe it's not that bad.
Which of the voices was saying that?
And the one that was low.
Okay.
So when you say they spoke with three voices, they didn't speak the same sentence at the same time. They were having a conversation with each other.
Yeah.
Okay. It's very helpful, thank you.
You're gonna make it happy again.
We'll try.
We'll do our best.
Is there anything else you need?
Could you point us to the bakery?
We'll point towards. Well, just follow the smell. Bread's going.
Thank you very much. Oh, have a lovely day.
Carol will just wave as you leave.
Thank you, Vela.
Come back. Tell me what you did.
We promise.
You arrive at the bakery, which is a small, quaint little place. And there's just like a man behind the like an older man behind the counter. Like, what can I get you?
Well, I would like some of these fantastic little pastries with are those apricots? They look delicious. And we were hoping to talk to your son.
Which one? You looking for the smart one or the others?
The one who went up the mountain.
One of the others, right? Cool. Adam, and you'll see you coming back out like covered in flour. It's just one of the sons. Like, Ida, what is it? Oh, there's some of these learned folks here that speak to you. At least I assume that's who you are.
Indeed.
Fancy clothes and such. How can I help you?
Adam, we're aware of this gaps on our custom of your community.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen anything untoward or surprising up the mountains? Any creatures? Heard any voices?
Heard any voices? Are you saying I'm mad?
No. I mean, we all have voices.
Oh, it was a bit of a weird. It was a good trip, but a bit of a weird one, you know. Like, So these weird butterflies.
Oh.
Never seen butterflies that yellow.
And were they in a place above the snow line where you wouldn't expect to see them, or were they just on the way?
I saw them at different points. And just bright yellow, interesting. Goats with goat. Like, there's these weird goats can stand. Like, you ever seen a goat stand on the side of a wall?
Yes.
They're
Well, I
very
thought
good at
that
that.
was weird.
Sam, as an having the animal enthusiast skill, would weirdly yellow butterflies be something I know anything about?
I'd say let's make a deduction roll. And I'm gonna make the DC a 3.
Ooh, that's a 3.
Weirdly yellow butterflies? Probably not, but you're like fairly knowledgeable about invertebrates. You would know about the different types of insect life that would exist across different regions. I mean, something being bright yellow, that's not that exciting. He just seems to like it, find it exciting.
Yeah. Just like the goats, okay.
Did you see anything larger at all?
Well, there's a couple of bears up there.
Oh.
I mean, they kind of leave you alone. They don't bother you. They're just... we head out in a cave. It's great.
Have you been up to the peak?
No, I never got quite up there.
Do you know anyone who has?
I mean, I know people who said they've been, but I don't know if I believe them.
Well, it's probably for the best.
They don't even own tampons.
Crampons.
That's it.
Well, we'll make a learned fellow of you yet.
His dad laughs.
Just like...
For anyone who was thinking of going towards, or not to the peak, but up the mountains a bit, do you have any recommendations, any tips, anything to watch out for?
Other than crampons,
I'd say the first path is a little bit scrambly. Took us a bit longer than you would normally have expected to. A lot of loose rocks. You don't need to put your elbows above your shoulders in order to get up there.
Couldn't I ask Dagmar's character, are there any sort of like mountain-based beast of burden that are sort of used hereabouts that we could use to sort of assist our journey?
I don't think you would need to have a conversation about it. I would know that there's like oxen that you could probably take if you wanted someone to carry stuff.
While we're here, it would be nice to pack up and to stock up on some provisions for the journey. Do you have anything hardy? Dense?
Well, I can do you different types of rolls. I can do you like soft, crispy, or well-fired, or really hard.
I like a well-fired roll.
Other people say that it's just burned, but nah, well-fired. I can also do you some butteries. High on butter and salt, keeps you going.
Yes, please. We're going to need a good case of those, please.
Perfect. He will rhyme off a rudimentary amount and say money can be exchanged for goods and services. You get it.
Cool. So we've got some supplies. We've got a little bit of information about the route up and what we might encounter.
Would the gear we're wearing be suitable for like altitude?
What are you all wearing?
Canute is wearing, kind of sturdy and rugged, and kind of it's seen some use, kind of outdoor wear. Probably a thick leather coat with a kind of fur shawl over the shoulders, and thick fur-lined boots. Canute is a very practical man.
That makes sense for the Guardian sort of character. That makes sense for me.
Do you want to go, Dagmar?
Go ahead.
Which of you wants to do it? Because I know you're like trying. What do I look like? And no one wants to take a jump.
I've got an idea, but you go first, Alex.
I think Carnelian is wearing a sort of a heavy woolen cloak, the sort of kind which has got a lot of the lanolin to sort of make it waterproof, and it's sort of like going down to the ankles. Some sort of less mountainous boots, perhaps, than Knut is wearing, but still sort of fairly respectable ones, and some nice fleece lined gloves and a scarf.
Amandine is dressed like a librarian, but one who's decided to go for a walk in the woods. So it's a lot of tweed. She is wearing quite sensible boots, but yeah, she's probably the one who looks most out of place.
I'm seeing a capelet.
Yes, definitely capelets. Like there are gloves, but you know whether or not they're ones that are actually going to keep you warm on a mountain hike. Who knows?
Yeah, Knut's got those like mittens that like flip up into fingerless gloves.
Yes, that makes sense for.
Could I, in which case, use my resourceful skill to sort of find suppliers around town that can provide us with more practical gear?
Yeah, we're not going to roleplay that. You can just get them and be practical, unless you would rather not be Dagmar.
I'm happy to be practical. I was going to say I had one more question for the baker, but after Adam left.
Okay, but Adam will go back through the back.
Yeah. Can I ask, has he always been so fascinated by ordinary animals?
No, that seems to be after he'd been up there. He writes songs about them now.
Fascinating.
He was never that creative.
Never mentioned any voices he heard. He seemed quite defensive.
Well, I mean, he's not mentioned anything specific, but.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Oh, we should have brought a diviner.
Somewhere in another part, there's just a diviner in a spa.
Damn it, Rachel.
Just listening into the thoughts of everyone else in the sauna.
So, is there anything else you would like to do here, or do you want to head out onto the road?
We're going to get some
more sensible clothes.
We're going to get some crampons, we're going to get some tampons, we're going to get some pitons. We're going to get some rope, we're going to get,
a compass. I assume you already have that.
I don't know if a beast of burden is a good idea, because they will only be able to go so far.
Especially
and
in the snow.
Anything that would be able to go higher isn't going to want to carry stuff. Like a mountain goat is probably not going to be amenable.
I mean, we could always. How far away is this place by this mountain?
We're going to do a timey-wimey thing. We're just going to go bloop, and you're there.
Okay, just enough to establish a base camp. Anyway, that's.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's probably not that important.
Great. Once we get some of those foil blankets in case we get hypothermia.
Flare gun, cool. You have right, sure.
Let's go
out on the roads, and we will indeed kind of skip time a little bit. That you are making your way through these pine trees that we've established that we have in this sort of space. There are well-trodden paths that make their way towards the mountain, and after quite some time eating these rolls or these butteries that you've picked up from the bakers, arrive at the base of this mountain, and it is cold here. There is freshly laid snow. It is not currently snowing right now. I'm gonna say that it's the next day. So you've had an overnight camp. The weather currently looks fairly pleasant. There is one wide path out in front of you. But what do you all see? What does it look like here?
if we look up at the peak, you can see up the mountain, and we'll find out what we see up there. But looking out behind us, because we are now kind of getting towards the tree line. So there might still be some trees around us, but the forest is a lot less dense. And so you're seeing little glimpses of the tops of smaller mountains, and the valleys in between, and how the light kind of shimmers in that kind of low cloud, high mist that you get around the mountains.
And there's a fresh layer of snow that's fallen, but there are already small tracks of animals that have woken before us or just gone to sleep again, sort of littering the path ahead and also amongst the trees.
As an animal enthusiast, do you think you'd look at these flowers? These tracks, sorry.
Probably, yes. I would not look at flowers. I don't care about those.
Okay.
I think specifically, I'm picturing some of this as sort of like patches of alpine meadow up here, and I think there are sort of these little mounds where these sort of mountain-dwelling, tunnel-dwelling creatures live, and they look a bit like a cross between a marmot and a kiwi.
A marmot and a kiwi is what you're saying. Like,
and they just sort of stand on their little mounds and scream, and then scuttle back.
So let's flesh that out a little bit, because right now I've got something in my head. Is we have a marmot being like a small mammal style creature that's like
big hamster,
like a ground squirrel.
Like a big ground squirrel. Would we say it's got the feathers of a kiwi and a big round body?
I think so, yeah.
And like a marmot's face
with the kiwi's beak.
With the kiwi's beak.
Yeah. It needs the beak to scream.
Yes, and it stands on the mound and it puts its head back and goes, ah!
Okay. Would anyone, because you are all chroniclers, like to try and deduce anything about this creature? If you've got an interaction, you'd be welcome to try and find the behavior from it.
I'm going to... Oh, go ahead.
No, go.
No, you go first. I want to come second.
I would love, at the very least, I would love to sketch these creatures.
Okay. You'd like to sketch them. What do you have in order to sketch?
I imagine... Excuse me. I have a very thick pad of like what's essentially like painters, like thick paper, and a lot of pencils. Pencils being more reliable than ink in the rain. And so I'd like to take out one of the finer pencils and just sit quietly somewhere not too close so as not to disturb them, and just start sketching one of these creatures on its mound as it's screaming.
I would like you to roll me an observation check, please. I'm going to make the DC a 3.
Okay. That's 6.
You do a perfectly outlined sketch of this little creature, and I'm going to let you have the behavior for this thing be round and feathered.
Round and feathered. It sure is.
And as you step forward in order to do that, you step close to one of these animal tracks. And as your foot gets closer, you'll watch as the track itself will morph into a group of butterflies that fly off.
Yellow?
Yeah.
They don't normally do that, do they? Do they?
Sorry, do those come from the tracks?
I'm gonna have a closer look at these tracks.
What tracks?
I have the skill tracks in the mud.
Where I'm gonna let Canute do it.
We can do it together.
But what I said was what tracks?
Are there no more around?
The tracks are gone.
Are the butterflies kind of shaped like the feet of the little animals?
No, they're just butterflies. There's just like a group of like 24 of them flying off.
Can I provoke them by chasing them?
Of course you can. I think it's a traversal. Roll.
What is it with Khalil and playing old men who run after things on mountains?
So I'm gonna get a DC of 3.
Sweet. Oh, I'm using the first roll for the pansexual pride dice that were
Yay!
a present from Aida at Euphoria this weekend. That's a 4. Thank you, Aida.
Amazing. So yeah, that is indeed a success. So you want to chase them. What are you hoping to find out?
Where they go?
They continue up the slope. They are moving into a much more kind of loose rock sort of area. So they divert off the path a little bit. Not exactly where you were planning on going.
Can I stop chasing and watch them until they settle and see if they turn back into footprints or anything like that?
Okay. Yeah. I would say that with that successful chasing, as you provoke them, you're going to get the view of them rapidly coming from one form into 24 individuals that all move out in different ways as you unlock the behavior rapid dispersal.
Ooh.
But they don't move back into it. They don't reform.
Well, we know the baker's boy wasn't tripping too hard.
Unless we are also.
This is a possibility.
Can I see with my take samples interaction? Is there any sign of any like flowering plant or shrub or anything that might be the sort of a food source for these butterflies?
Well, you mentioned that you think there's like an alpine meadow here, so
Hmm.
we can say that there are some flowers in this space. You would like to try and take some samples.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, you can do that. So you're going to go ahead and make, I believe that is observation. I might be wrong because I'm struggling to find interaction based and like the ability rolls just because my brain's not working. But we're going to go with observation and a DC of 3.
I am not able to hit any DCs tonight. That's a 2.
As you go down, how do you take these samples? What's your attempt?
I was assuming. I think maybe I'd have a little like pressing book.
Like a book to press some flowers in. Okay. So you go to try and like pick some flowers and watch as they also disperse into butterflies.
That's quite remarkable.
You all begin to hear singing.
How many voices?
Make a deduction roll. DC 4.
And while they're trying to work out how many voices, can I use my awareness skill to try to see where it's coming from?
Yeah, I would make that observation, and I'm gonna because of that skill, you're gonna have a DC of 2. What was your result?
I got a 3, so that's not a success.
Okay, no worries. That is. I'm just gonna say so you all know, but even though the players have not played, a thread has frayed. And you got a 3, Khalil, so that would be a success. This, as you're trying to listen to the sound of this singing, you realize with the freshly laid snow here, if you've ever been in a place where normally it's quite quiet with new snow and then loud noise. It seems to come from everywhere, as though it's echoing. And actual direction, quite impossible to pinpoint.
Could I? So were there multiple voices in the end? Sorry.
We don't know.
Not sure.
Okay. So could I use my working patterns skill and sort of have us spread out and see if we can like triangulate where any where the echoes are sort of coming from more?
What I will say is you have information from before that it's probably not here. It's probably up.
Okay.
How have the Kiwi marmots reacted to this singing? Have they reacted?
Without making you having to have a roll, you can see that they still occasionally will come out and do their thing, scream, and then hide again. It doesn't seem to bother them.
Is this the same song the girl was singing?
It's a good point, isn't it? I'd make a deduction roll. I'm going to make a DC of 4.
I am not the smartest character. DC of 4, that's a 3.
It's not because you can't tell the difference, it's just because of, again, the snow is not quite allowing you to hear the pitch or the melody. You're just hearing what sounds like a kind of choral tune.
There's definitely something out here. Let's keep our wits about us as we proceed upwards.
So you got this winding path with this alpine meadow. You'll see that there are loose rocks ahead that you would have to try and make your way past. You watch as like a couple of goats walk across, and these rocks will start to just shift and fall. It looks a little unsteady under your feet. So how would you like to try and move? And remember, you can shape to add details to try and influence that.
I have the steady hands ability. So would I be able to do that to sort of position like pythons in secure spots that we can sort of use to ascend in a more smooth and safe way?
So
I'm keen-eyed, so I can identify the firmer bits of rock, and then you can put the pitons in.
Okay. Dagmar, did you want to have anything set up to do? And your tweed and capelet?
I've put on sensible clothes. I don't know if my knowledge of geography is going to actually influence things here, so no, I will allow.
I mean,
We're
it
up a mountain,
absolutely
mate.
could.
Yeah, this is true.
It
This
could.
is true.
You
I'm going to
would
use.
be able to understand like what the kind of geological formations are and how they shift and
Oh,
move.
okay. Sure. Yep. I will identify the steadiest rock types based on my geographic knowledge, so that we don't place any pitons in rocks that are going to just straight up crumble.
Lovely. So this is going to be a group traversal check, and I'm going to make the DC here 3.
How does this work in terms? Do we all have to hit that, or do we an average that?
For this one, I'm going to make it that individually things will happen depending on what you roll.
Okie dokie.
2. And Alex?
Also 3.
So that's 2 successes and 1 fail. So for Khalil and our guardian, what do your keen eyes see?
So observing keenly the mountain goats and where they're stepping, and where they allow some of their weight to fall, and where they, skip more lightly. That's how I can identify the kind of the bits of rock that are likely to tumble, the bits of rock that are likely to hold a bit of weight.
Great. Dagmar, what type of brittle rock do you accidentally tell Alex to hammer a piton into?
Well, so these mountains were once the bottom of an ocean, and we've managed to hit the one patch of rock, of like limestone that's sort of dense with fossils, that seems to just crumble a lot faster than the firmer rock that the rest of the mountains are made of. So we've had some cool fossils, but the Pitten doesn't hold.
I'm gonna say I like it being this limestone with fossils in. I am gonna say that initially the Python does hold.
Okay.
So it is hammered in. And then Alex, like, what does it look like as you do this?
So I think I'm trying to sort of take advantage with my steady hands to ensure that these are sort of positioned as precisely as possible to sort of minimize sort of tension on the surrounding material, and then sort of just slowly progressing, not necessarily like every step of the way, but just any point where it's like, this seems a bit more precarious than I'd like, just sort of give a general sort of a cleaner route up the mountain.
Great. So you've got these in. What's your order if you try to make your way to climb?
I think Canute would probably be in front.
Right. Who's second?
And I think I would probably be second, as
Okay.
I'm more about the resources and stuff.
So Canute will climb ahead and manage to make through. You put a foot onto one of these, and it kind of wobbles a little, but you think it's fine.
I paused for a sec, part way up, to scrape off some of the lichen from these rocks because I've seen the goats kind of nibbling and licking the lichen, and I know that sometimes mountain animals will nibble lichen to get some important micronutrients. But I've seen these goats doing it, and they have forked tongues,
and you'll
so they
watch
can cover a wider area.
You'll watch as you like collect some of the samples. You'll just watch little tendrils come out, and then slink back in. You continue on.
Well, that's
Alex,
news.
You're following behind, and you get halfway up, and like you seem to be thinking, I've done a very good job with putting these pittons in, and then put a foot onto the one that's in some limestone. It gives way, and you begin to fall backwards down the scree in the direction of Dakwar's character. Anything you would like to do at this moment, either of you?
I would immediately sort of try and shift my weight towards the sort of last stable point I had,
Okay.
to sort of break my tumble.
We'll make an explore roll then, please, and a DC of 3.
Explore. That is interesting. Didn't know the dice could land that way. 3.
Okay, perfect. You are able to shift
it's a
your
new
way
shit dice, not me being weird.
before you slide back in towards Dakmar. You're able to catch yourself before things go wrong, and then you are able to get back and ready to continue on. And with that, because we actually had some good rolls there, I'm not going to make this an inverse card, but I am going to show this lovely artwork. Look at this. So if you've never played this game before, it comes with wonderful journey cards and monster cards and opportunity cards, and it's got kind of inversed art. So if they had done extremely badly, which currently they haven't, I would have reorientated it. But this is the scree. So you make your way past the scree and on to the next stage of your journey. It opens up into a kind of wider path here, and you'll see that there are flags on posts, like kind of streamers, that seem to be heading up the mountain, more of a regular path here. And you'll see further up ahead of you the kind of opening in the rock, and you can see some light alongside it, as though there is an opening.
Well, this could be the cave that young Adam was talking about.
I mean, I feel it's always pertinent when finding caves in the wilderness to check for signs of potentially hazardous creatures thereabouts before we enter.
Yes, indeed.
So could I use, I guess, either explore or take samples to see if there's any, like, predator or otherwise concerning creature poop. Like
Go
the
ahead
bears
and roll explore. We're going to make an observation check for me. I'm going to make a DC and just a simple 3.
I fail that.
Okay, great. You don't see any sort of predators. What you do see is a rooster just wandering about.
As a twitcher, what's up with this
See?
rooster?
I've read your character sheets.
You wrote our character sheets.
You see this rooster that to most people would look like well, to us, if we saw one, it would just be a regular rooster, except for one very strange detail, which is that rather than a feathered tail, you see flame.
I don't think I need to be a twitcher in order to know that's weird. But that is weird.
The flux has brought many interesting things into our world. Does it?
Oh, absolutely.
Does it look aggressive?
Would anyone like to use any other
love-
interactions?
Yeah, I'm asking Almond Lady what you're called.
Yes, that's my name. Thank you, Knut. I would like to study this creature, please, Sam.
You absolutely can. What does your study look like?
I
Scratch your chin and think, or are you getting
No,
closer?
I'd like to take out the sketch pad again and sort of flip it to a new page and just start sort of observing the behaviors it's doing, and just making sort of detailed notes in shorthands of basically every moment, like what's the stimulus that's triggering the behavior, and then what's the behavior that follows.
Okay. It is moving about in these kind of snowfields alongside the paths, and you are watching as its tail starts to move against snow. And what you would expect that actually I need to get you to roll before I tell you more after that. It's going to tell you too much information. So study, so it's going to be observation, DC of 4.
5.
Where you would expect to see this tail melting the snow, it causes more of the frost in the air to join the snow as you unlock the behavior for this creature, cold flame.
Are we sure that this isn't in any way connected to the illusory butterflies we encountered earlier?
We are absolutely not sure of that at all, but I'm not sure how we'd establish the connection.
Well, I guess if we chase it and it turns into insects, then that's our question answered. But we're not here for the chickens. We're here for the dragon.
The chicken could be the dragon.
It continues to walk up the hill as you walk and talk and think
Should
about
we
what it is you're looking at.
follow it at a respectful distance?
I was going to try and spark up a conversation with it, but that can wait. Let's follow respectfully and then maybe say hello.
We stalk it before we talk to it? That seems odd.
Well,
It wanders in the direction of the cave.
That does not seem odd.
There's a rail, and I'm making you follow a road.
No, we are following the chicken into the cave.
Yes.
What does the entrance to this cave look like?
I think it looks like a poorly maintained freezer.
I know what you mean.
Like that kind of very fluffy looking but hard frost all the way around the rim, almost like the hood of a parka.
Yes.
But the frost, it's kind of more iridescent almost as the light catches it. It's not just white and fluffy. Like there are little kind of almost disco ball reflections that you can see just inside the mouth of the cave.
I think that in addition to that, how it looks, there's also sort of like odd little nooks and crannies in the mouth and sort of just leading onto the mouth. Little sort of narrow rivulets, perhaps caused by sort of frost over the ears, that cause it to sort of like whistle as the wind runs into the mouth.
I'm going to add to that to say that this whistling, whilst you might feel that it's coming from these kind of nooks and crannies, upon closer inspection, you see that there is a row of ice that seems to be making this noise like a wind chime. But if you look a little closer, it's not ice. Those are swallows hanging upside down by their feet. And they're singing in unison like a wind chime.
Is the song like the song we heard earlier?
You can make a deduction roll if you like.
I would
And
love
we'll
to.
make that a DC 4.
I think as the wind blows the wind chime swallows and they clink and twinkle, it also makes the little kind of ice crystal refraction kind of fluff around the mouth of the cave. It makes that shift slightly, and so you get an even more kind of disco ball-y effect in the inside of the cave.
Like as though crystals are forming, and I imagine it kind of pulsating a little, as though like crystals form and deform. I don't know if that's
But pulsing arrhythmically, like more like twinkling.
Yeah, I like it. You roll the 6, Dagmar.
Yes, I do.
You hear a very similar song, but I would say that the difference that you notice is that these swallows are singing it slightly more sadly than the girl was.
Why are they sad?
I mean, perhaps do they seem to be like hibernating at all, or are they just...
No, they're very much awake. The rooster at this point wanders into the cave.
Yeah, we've been following the rooster.
Yep.
I think as it's about to get into the cave, my curiosity gets the better of me, and I, not super loudly because I, don't want to set off an avalanche or scare the swallows or the rooster. I say, hello there, little fellow. Can you talk?
If you want to make is that a talk interaction you're doing here?
I don't have that interaction on my character sheet.
That's fine. You try to talk to a rooster, and it will kind of look at you with its chickeny eyes, and cluck.
I see.
And wander in.
I see. Oh, that's that theory scratched off.
You begin to hear the trickle of water from inside the cave.
Could I try to diagnose why these swallows are sad?
You absolutely can. So that is going to be, I think that is observation. DC of 4 again.
4.
So I would say that. Well, how you go about it? What is it exactly you doing?
I'd like to sort of lean up towards them as close as I can get and try to determine as much as I can about their physical condition to see if there's any physical reason why they might be sad, whether or not that's in mourning or anything more like illness related.
Okay. I would say that as you get closer to see that they all look to be in good physical condition. They don't seem to be hurt or sick in any way. The best way to describe it is that you can probably see a level of melancholy within them, as though something else is affecting them, whether it is the the mood here in the mountain, or perhaps the perhaps feeling for others.
Are we
Deeply
feeling
for
that?
others. I would say that probably at this point you would be. You're seeing lots of new things that are very interesting, but I would say that at this point you probably are beginning to feel a little sad yourselves.
That seems to be catching.
Well, if this dragon really can communicate through the mind, then we must be on the right track.
That would seem logical.
Onwards.
Yes,
Into the cave you all go. You heard that trickle of water, and then you begin to see as there is this small stream running through the middle of this, what is currently a fairly narrow passageway into a cave, with kind of wet walls and moss that grows across the ceiling, a couple of stalactites that hang down. What do you do? You looking for anything? Are you just walking?
Are there any signs of like the traversal of a large creature here, like sort of claw marks or just other sort of often when you have like an animal that sort of dwells regular near a cave, it will wear sort of its movement into the shape of it. So anything like that.
Okay, I'd say make an observation check to see any signs that you would see. We'll make a DC here of just 2. I'm going to make it a low one.
Oh my god.
You got 1. Okay. I need to make a little
Vanished.
You don't see any signs of a large creature moving through this space.
Without wanting to spam, as well as a guardian, as well as a kind of protector, I'm also a tracker. So I'm keen-eyed, and I have the skill tracks in the mud.
Yeah.
So would I be able to be observing for the same thing?
Yeah, I'm gonna get you to do the exact same, and DC of 2. 4. I'd say that you don't see any signs of a large creature. What you see instead are the signs of people. You see paths that have been worn by human feet. But more so than that, you also see etchings on the wall.
Are these just kind of initials in hearts,
There's some of that.
penises, people's names, or are they more meaningful than that?
There are a range of the mundane, the silly, the meaningful. Some of which are kind of drawn on in clay. Some have been etched in with stone. Some people have even brought paint up here. It seems like people have really taken the effort here. One of the things you would notice is a drawing of an egg, and then further along that egg cracks, and from that this 4-legged creature with 3 heads emerges. And then where this creature is, there is a large gap, a very large gap, and then later it appears much larger, and you'll watch as there are humanoid figures around it with weapons.
I'm going to copy all of those drawings into my sketch pad.
Would you like to use, have you got sketch?
I do have sketch as an interaction.
If you would like to make me a observation roll with sketch.
Yeah.
DC of 3.
Could it
4.
be
And your question, then I'll come back to Dakar.
Could it be that this dragon has a penchant for the artistic?
At least it's maybe inspires art in others, if that's what you mean.
Dagmar, you unlock the behavior Feathered Wings as you look at this creature, seeing that people have drawn in quite detailed wing structure. And upon saying this creature looks like it appreciates the creatives and the kind of artistic side of things, Khalil, you hear a voice in your head say, "Go on."
I reach towards the. Is this inscribed or painted?
This one is painted, like a very deliberate painting.
Okay, so I won't touch it, but I will find a piece of charcoal in my fire kit, and I will draw a circle around the dragon, and I will draw 3 figures facing outwards from the circle, 3 humanoid figures. And I will try to think the concept of care and protection.
You have talk as an interaction, don't you?
I
No,
have
you
protect.
don't. You have protect, yeah.
Can I psychically protect?
What else have you got within those? Provoke was one, right?
Yeah, I don't want to provoke. I've got explore, protect, and provoke.
You could explore to explore the mind.
Yes, I will try. I will try to, as I'm not necessarily innately psychically gifted. Don't clip that. But
Nick, please clip that.
As the connection is established by this voice coming into my head saying, "Go on," I will go on. I will allow my mind to flow naturally, and free myself from the structures and the containments that we have in day-to-day life. And I think that's where this drawing comes from, because I'm exploring how I feel about this.
I'm gonna get you to make a explore roll. We're gonna make that so that would be, it was probably, I think, traversal, but we'll do DC of 3.
Well, I have a D6 in either of them, so it's okay. I got a 3.
Amazing. Because I'm changing things up a little, I'm gonna allow you to put this onto the wall and then try to in some way kind of commune with this creature that is talking to you, and it will say, "You've changed my story. Thank you."
We came because of the girl. We heard you were sad and scared. And we want to show you that we can help understand each other. It doesn't need to be threat and fear.
You're gonna unlock the behavior lover of stories.
We all have power over our stories. You can change your story as well.
I don't know that I have the time in which to do that. As further into this cave, you hear an explosion.
Run.
Let's go.
Towards or away?
Towards. Well, Canute is running towards. Canute has had this moment of communion. Canute is definitely running towards. He's had this mental communion, and he is a man of action. So
Yes. Also, neither of us were part of this psychic interaction, so you just like run towards it, bang.
I think we should follow him.
Yes,
go.
we better make sure he doesn't get buried.
As you like run into the rest of this cave, there is this flowing air heading through, as though it's moving further through the cave, and perhaps you'd be able to deduce that there's an exit. But in order to reach that, this flowing water gets deeper and wider and moving a little faster. So there would be a torrent of water to have to cross here. You can tell me what else is in the space if you would like to shape this scenario.
Yes, there's a torrent of water, but jutting out from certain points in the walls and the ceiling, and also from the floor, because of the composition of this rock, of this mountain, there are like nuggets of harder minerals in there that don't get eroded by this water, and so they're not like nice stepping stones, but someone who is sure-footed and experienced in the wilds might be able to hop.
As we get deeper into the cave as well, the thick layer of ice that was around the entrance is thinner here. And there's still a layer, but you can see the underlying rock better. And those fossils, which we encountered earlier as well, beautifully preserved here, some of them sticking out, like ammonites and other creatures sort of twinkling slightly underneath the frost, with this sporadic twinkling that we saw earlier. Sort of making it look almost as if there's like a sea of animals that are long dead, sort of along the ceiling.
Yeah, maybe the biggest ones of those are the jutting out things that I was mentioning. So we're hopping from like massive twinkling fossil to massive twinkling fossil.
I would add to that I think whoever the artists were that had been sort of creating this story earlier have also like embellished these fossils, so that they've sort of painted them like, whether this is what they look like in real life, but they've sort of repainted them back into sort of lifelike colors.
Or maybe some of them are a bit silly. Some of them are just like, like an angry face on the side of a like shell or something.
Hot pink alumnite.
I love it. It is kind of giving bowling alley vibes for some reason.
What does that mean? What bowling alleys do you go to?
Do you mean the carpet patterns?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Folks, what I would like you all to do for me is to make traversal rolls. This again, it's going to be a group check, but this time it will be an average group. So a DC of 4.
Can I in any way shift that to a steady hands to get a better roll somehow? I don't.
Well, with that, what I would actually ask is, because you didn't say it beforehand, but what I will give you all is I really enjoyed the description of what this looks like here. So I'm going to award you all a fate point. So a fate point is this game's kind of form of inspiration that you can use to try and change a form of what has happened in the world around you. So Alex, you can re-roll.
Okay, well I haven't rolled yet, so let's.
Oh, right, okay.
It's just because I've got a D4. So what was the DC again?
4.
The average, and Khalil got 5 and I got 4.
Okay, I've got a 3, so that's okay.
With the 3, that is exactly what you need. That is a success. You are able to get yourselves across this torrent, looking at these different footholds that you've got. They are a little slippy, but you manage to all hold on and don't get swept away. As you get towards the end, you'll see that kind of sitting along little ledges, kind of watching the whole thing happen, are these small little silver flecked creatures that look a little bit on their body like mud skippers, but where the fish face would be is a duck's bill. and they all watch as you jump over. But you've
And
made it through.
all of their
Yeah.
fins end in suckers,
Holding
and
onto
so
the
when
wall.
they like move around the wall of the cave, it goes like.
Love that. I love that. And with that, you've made your way through the cave. Okay. The wind continues. You hear another bang, and the opening to this cave will extend out onto like a kind of long, flat snowfield. And ahead of you, you see the clouds have kind of changed color. They're kind of purplish, and they're ringed around what looks to be one final summity slope. Any other details that you would like to add to the space to shape what you see?
The
It has started
clouds are spiraling down like almost like a kind of vortex, not like fast spinning, but that it's not a flat ring of clouds. It's like a cone going down.
And it started snowing.
And from this cone, you see a long tail.
The dragon.
I think I like to imagine that just a small circle around where this tail is emerging from, and that peak of rock, the snow just suddenly ceases, and there's sort of a slight carpet of like, just sort of like the kind of very low to the ground, like rock hugging alpine flowers, sort of like thrifts and saxifrages and that kind of thing, that just added this little weird splash of color in this otherwise sort of bleak landscape.
Perfect. You hear an explosion up ahead, or like a loud bang, not quite like some sort of detonation. Instead, just some form of bang.
Can I use awareness as a skill to once again try to, now that we're in a smaller part of kind of the mountain, and it's not so thickly carpeted in snow, can I identify that sound or identify where it's coming from as we are as I'm continuing to run up towards the peak?
I would get you to make an observation check, but I'll lower the DC based on that skill, so I'm only going to make it 2. Also, we're getting towards the end, so
2.
Perfect. You're able to tell that it seems to be coming from the other side of this peak, but lower down on the other side. So not at the top, but lower down, as though whoever or whatever is there is still further down the mountain and perhaps doing something to aim up. You all head on ahead. It's begun to snow. Sorry, Cleo, we can add something now. No, cool. What does it look like in order for you to get up this last slope? Do we reckon that it's like another kind of scrambling on big rocks, on little rocks? Is it going to be vines to climb? What do you reckon?
I think it's slippery up here. It's just the snow is more slippery as it's freshly fallen rather than already compacted down.
Yeah. Good thing you have those crampons.
I think Canute is not being the best climbing partner. I'm not laying down, like carefully laying down each piton and looping a rope through and climbing up. I think I've got, climbing axe in one hand, and crampons on my feet, and I'm just kind of scrambling up towards the peak. Maybe even like kind of not going directly up, but kind of diagonally, partly to make the slope less extreme, and also partly so that I can start making my way around to the other side of the peak, or at least so I can see around the other side.
Okay. I would prepare yourself with a traversal roll in order to do that. Either of the two of you following or doing something different?
I think that I would. I have the talk interaction, and I think that rather than trying to like climb up like right into like get up into this thing's space. I'd rather sort of engage with it here and sort of like we have heard of you speaking to the child, and we have come on their behalf and behalf of the people of the towns, and we hope that we can perhaps ease your concerns and perhaps find a place for you where you would not be a monster.
I'm gonna get you to roll me the talk and like interaction. So that is gonna be exploration. We'll do for this one. It's snowing, you told me, which is gonna make it harder to talk to something. So a DC of 5 here.
I physically cannot roll that. But nonetheless, a 4, which is the best I can do.
You shout into the snow. Unfortunately, nothing comes of it. Can I get you to roll that traversal roll for me, Khalil? I'm going to give you a
4.
DC of yeah, well, I was going to say 4. You're able to make your way around, and you were trying to look down.
I was trying to, like, if this is the peak, I was trying to climb kind of up and around so that I could see down towards whatever's making this bang noise.
Okay, cool. As you look down, you're able to see that there are like a group of people with a little camp, and they seem to be holding some form of firearm. They're not firing up, but they're firing at targets further down. It looks to be some sort of kind of practice area.
You there? You there? What are you doing?
You'll see like they're quite far down. You'll see them look up at you, and like one will turn and like point a weapon, and then see that there's a person and put it back down. Be like, what are you doing up there?
We're from the Institute.
You
We've come
get
to
the
see what's wrong
monster up
with...
there.
Yes. Yes,
Dude,
yes. Apparently
You're
it's...
here in your head going, no, I am not a monster.
It's not a monster. It's a being just like all of us.
Well, you're going to get yourself into some form of... Well, it looks like you're already in some form of trouble up there. Top of a mountain in the snow. Are you mad?
Ha! You don't know me. I've been through worse than this. Now, put the guns down and we'll have a little chat.
Before anything goes any further, Dakmar, what are you doing?
I would like to study the creature. It's in the clouds, right?
You can see a tail, like a long,
Yeah,
large
but the
tail.
rest of it
You can't
is...
see anything else.
Yeah. I'd like to study it to try to establish its relationship to the weather and this mountain peak. Whether or not it's shaping the clouds, or whether the cloud is sort of shaping it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm going to make that deduction.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to make the DC 4.
5.
Okay. With that, you're not going to unlock any further behaviors. There's nothing that comes from that, but it is a success. What you're able to tell is that it doesn't seem to be connected. It is just the climate here as the top of a mountain shifts as they regularly do at this altitude. At which point you realize that quite obviously from where you are, that this is a creature that lives at altitude. So I am going to give you that behavior.
And then I will go and follow Knut.
Cool.
I will
So,
also do so.
if you're following, you're both going to have to make the traversal rolls in order to do so. Khalil, can you remember before you tell me your results? Do you remember the DC I gave you, Khalil?
You said 4, and I got 4.
Then 4 is what we're going with.
Got a 4.
I'm gonna use that inspiration-y thing
That
because
fate
I got a
point.
1,
Mm-hmm.
and I got a 1 again.
The D4 is a tough life.
Okay. I'm gonna say then that Darkmoor, you've put on sensible footwear. You're able to get yourself round. But Alex, unfortunately, you lose grip of one of these slippery handholds and start to fall from height. You're free falling in air.
Well, shit.
Does anyone do anything? Any sort of reaction?
Do I see this?
Yeah. You'll see your friend.
Oh, I guess I will snap back to reality. Oop, there goes gravity. And I will realize how terrible a climbing partner I've been by just rushing ahead, kind of besotted with this psychic vision of a dragon. Can I use, I guess, my awareness skill to clock it happening, but wide-ranging skill being that I have traveled in all sorts of terrains with all sorts of groups of people, seen pretty much any accident that you can imagine happen out in the wilderness. And this reminds me of the one time there was an insolent young apprentice who thought he was too good for the proper safety procedures, and he went scrambling up a cliff to impress a lass and ended up falling. And blah, 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 blah. So can I try and like Spider-Man a rope with like a grappling hook on down to my companion?
Yep. That's going to be traversal.
Can I
And DC is
also-
going to be 5.
Can I assist with my local knowledge? I may not have the practical skills to save someone on a mountain, but I know what equipment other people carry in this parts to save someone falling off a mountain. So I was going to go with a grappling hook, but you've already got that. I am going to quickly clip myself to one of the pittons in the mountain and fling myself backwards in order to catch up with Alex's character and catch him.
Okay.
I'm assuming that's how people save each other in these mountains.
Khalil, what did you roll? And Darkmoor.
Yes.
Let me get you it's going to be a traversal roll to throw yourself into the air.
Great. What's the DC, please?
The DC is also going to be 5.
That's impossible, but okay. Nope, that's a 1 as well.
Okay,
Hi, Alex.
okay. Let's shape this. So, Amandine like leaps backwards off the mountainside to try and like accelerate and catch up with. I'm sorry, what's your character's name?
Carnelian.
Carnelian.
But on the way down is concussed by a grappling hook.
But the grappling hook hitting Amandine's head swings it just enough off course that it manages to sort of end up right in front of Carnelian as they're falling.
We've got a question in the chat, which is, can you TPK in Mappa Mundi?
Yes, we're doing it.
And as
First
you
time
get
ever.
knocked out by this grappling hook, and
Hey, I said concussed, not knocked out.
Concussed, a bit wibbly wobbly. Khalil, you will hear in your head going, I have to do everything. And emerging from this cloud is this extremely large, four-legged creature with 2 feathered wings and 3 heads that swoops down the mountainside and lands underneath these 2 free-falling chroniclers, scooping them into its wing.
I clip myself to the mountain. I'm gonna stop
with a
eventually before I
one.
hit the
With
ground.
the one, we hadn't
It comes
got,
loose, but I'm not in free fall.
we hadn't come to like what the consequence of yours was. It came loose and you were free falling.
And I got hit in the head.
And you got hit in the head. As this creature catches you, you'll see that these people below will look above and go, "Oh my god!" As you fly back up to the top next to where Canute is.
Well,
Excuse me.
while they're looking up, I think what Canute's first assumption is that they're gonna start blasting, and so I'm gonna kind of fell run almost, kind of half scramble, half tumble, down the slope towards them, to try and either tackle them if they're shooting, or at least to get close to them safely-ish, while they're not aiming guns at me.
You can absolutely do that, and as you get closer to them, I'm not going to get you to roll. You just realize that they aren't aiming; they're in awe, watching this creature catch your friends.
You see, it's beautiful, not just in the flesh, but in the mind.
It's incredible.
Yes.
What do they call that thing?
And I try to think, just in case there's still a connection, what shall we call you?
And you hear a voice say, "My name is Alina."
And in sync, as that is being beamed into me, kind of in the voice that I'm hearing it in my brain, it comes out of my mouth.
The last of the Zmei.
So these people hear all of that.
Wow.
Did we hear it?
You won't hear that. One of you's concussed, so you're probably taking in less information. As you land back at the top, and it will lay you down, and you'll watch as these 3 heads will turn to look at you.
You're so soft and so pretty. And my head hurts so much.
You'll watch as it kind of like moves one of the wings, and like, after flying, it looks as though it winces a little.
Are you okay there?
It doesn't say anything.
Let me help. Can I diagnose what's wrong with it?
You
Even
can
with my
diagnose.
concussion?
Yeah. In this situation, I'm going to make this a DC of 3.
What am I rolling?
Oh, sorry. Diagnose is going to be deduction.
5.
You notice scarring on this wing that looks to have healed over, but still causing a level of pain. It is not new. This looks, in fact, to be very old, allowing you to unlock the behavior old.
Could I use the skill? If I'll just say to Alina, just may I? And I just want to see if there's anything that could be done to kind of support better healing for that, or like improve it somehow.
Yeah, what are you trying? What are you using a particular ability or an interaction?
Well, I have resourceful, so I assume, and as the fixer, I assume I have like a medical pack and stuff.
So what I'll just say is that it's not really going to tell you much more about the individual right now. So that would be an interaction that would tell you more about it.
Okay.
So I don't know if any of your interactions could do something similar.
Okay. So in which case, I would say, in that case, let's take a slightly different tack. And I just put, like, I noticed that you're experiencing pain there. Like, how, if you don't mind me asking, did this injury come about?
What are you using to do this?
Talk.
Okay, then talk. You can. Go ahead and make me. That is going to be explore again, because that's what we did earlier for this one. DC is going to be 3.
Come on.
Because it hasn't talked to you yet.
These dice hate me, so let's find a different one. Cool, Tiger's Eye dice. No.
It will not respond to you. It doesn't have a level of connection with you right now.
I just sort of... There's just sort of awkward pause. Just...
Further down the slope, can I, while these people are stunned with awe at this incredible creature, can I be just kind of slowly and gently just taking their guns out of their hands and just putting them to the side, unloading them, making them safe? And this is me using the protect interaction.
Perfect. You can indeed. So go ahead, and that'll be explore. DC 3.
4.
You're able to take these away, and as you do that, this creature will once again say, "Thank you. Your friends are very strange."
Indeed.
And
you're welcome, friend.
Then you begin to hear singing. And Alex, Dagmar, you also hear singing as all 3 heads of this creature begin to sing.
Is it in a language you recognize?
It's much more like just like a choral harmony. But unlike the swallows earlier, you could deduce that this is happier.
Okay.
Do you do anything in response?
I'm gonna join in.
Yeah, I think I will too. And then we just get like completely glared at. Just like...
And hearing that from the top of the hill, I'll be saying to these formerly armed people, do you hear that? That's not something from a monster. That's something from a beautiful soul. Should we join? And I'm going to try and persuade them to join in the singing.
They'll hear it and say, "It is beautiful." And one by one, they all join in. Now, none of you have the interaction sing, but you all begin to sing. Somewhere in a spa, a diviner who does have that interaction sings. And that's when we're going to get you the last behavior you're going to find out about this creature, which is entranced by song. As you watch as this group of swallows flies out, butterflies reform into goats. You'll see butterflies reform into roosters as this song continues, and that melancholy you all felt begins to lift. And then, when the song ends, Alina will say, "You changed my story."
We all changed the story. You changed ours.
It's a very nice story. I like it here.
And perhaps from these change stories, we can change yet more stories still.
And these folk here from the local community, you have changed their stories, and they will pass those stories on to their neighbors, their family, their friends, their children. You will no longer be called monster. You will no longer be feared and hunted. You will be cherished and remembered fondly and respected.
And I think we all hope your story goes on for a very long time. But it will continue after you're gone as well.
I hope so.
Perhaps
We'll make sure.
we
And
can
one last
arrange
thing, yeah.
something. Pardon?
What do you have in mind?
So my understanding is that you have a passion for stories yourself. So perhaps there can be an exchange. People can bring their stories to you, and you can give them to them, and so both are enriched and propagated.
As long as they leave them in the cave, I don't want bother up here.
That's understandable. We can work out something.
And with that, you have this story. You can make your way back down the mountain. You've passed on the story that you've had with these people here.
We'll leave a little bit of a pictorial representation of it as we pass through the cave.
Including the grappling hook hitting a person's head. I'm going to make Kana to carry me down the mountain.
A bit abashedly, but happy to do it.
You continued on, perhaps heading back to this town to tell the Institute what you find, report back to Vela, and know that you have learned of the Song of Dismay and perhaps changed just one story. But even one story being changed is significant. And that's where we're going to leave Mappa Monday this evening. Folks, thank you so much for watching along and for the lovely comments we've had in the chat all the way through. Who was it? I think it was Nick saying we didn't ask the name of the creature. Yeah, it had a name, as well as a type. It also had its own personal name. No. Nick didn't ask him, and he played.
Oh, okay.
You all know, but no TPK. Oh,
We tried.
You tried your darndest. Folks, this has been a game of the wonderful Mappa Monday by the wonderful folks over at 3 Sail Studios. The loveliest folks making a lovely game. Look how gorgeous it is. It's so nice. The cards you saw are things that you can get digitally. You can also get, do I have them? I might not. I might put them back. I put them back in my box. Physical cards as well. They are so good. I absolutely encourage you all to get a copy of it when you can. They're currently fulfilling their Kickstarter. And yeah, folks, we'll be back soon with the next episode of Whispers from the Grove, which is our Humblewood D&D story. We've got things coming up later in June, which will be our 10 Candles game, all about sad dinosaurs, and it is really sad, and some other things that are in the works and coming really soon.
And on the subject of Whispers from the Grove, we also have over on our Patreon, we're starting our chat along series to accompany Whispers from the Grove. So with each episode, I'm chatting with a different member of the cast. We've had Alex, we've had Dagmar, we've had Rachel. for episodes 1, 2, and 3. Going to get Sam on for episode 4, and then everybody for the finale. And we can get all of the juicy narrative, scientific, story, and inspiration nuggets that go into the story, but you don't necessarily get explicitly in the main show.
And another quick thing related to Whispers from the Grove, which is that after we finish airing Whispers from the Grove, we've got 2 sessions left. We are not going to be streaming to Twitch anymore. We will be streaming exclusively on YouTube. So make sure, if you're not already following us on YouTube, it's at Science and Sorcery, and hit subscribe and hit the bell button so you get notified whenever we've got stuff going on YouTube. But you've got 2 more Whispers from the Grove sessions on Twitch before we swap these over and
we switch from Twitch
stream on YouTube. So, thanks, Sam. This was great.
I love this game. Yeah, and with that, we're going to head on out. I think what we'll leave with is what we had from the story is that if you're ever spending time in the outdoors, things you only want to take are take pictures. You want to leave footprints. You only want to make memories. And treat things that are living out there with kindness, with respect, and tell the right stories about them. Because our world needs more good stories about the incredible things that we have, and we need to protect it more.
Also, climbing safety is very important.
Climbing safety is also
Do
very
not mix up your tampons and your crampons.
Those are the messages we'll leave you with. Good night.
Bye, folks.